Hey, welcome everyone to another episode of Fantasy Studs and Suds. I am Jeffrey Crisp, and alongside me is my co-host C.J. Pudge LaPage. How you doing there, Pudge?
Pretty good.
Good?
It's about to warm up, so should be a pretty good weekend.
Excellent. It's going to be a great weekend indeed. No rain for about a week. So our segments today will include Fantasy Studs. We will discuss one player and one team making headlines recently. Fantasy Leagues, where we will provide another example of why league rules are important. Fantasy Priority, fitting fantasy into real life. Fantasy Suds, our favorite segment, well, at least mine, featuring our beers of the week. And Fantasy Funds, Fantasy Now Plus, Staff Leagues Draft, and Mother's Day. So, Pudge, how are you spending your weekend?
This weekend, it'll be me and the two littles. We are going to do some stuff outside, do a little bike riding, all that fun stuff.
Excellent. Yeah, I'm just going to kind of enjoy the weather outside with the dogs and my wife, and we may have a couple friends over on Sunday for a little bit of barbecuing. But other than that, it's going to be a pretty low-key weekend for us. So let's go ahead and get started with Fantasy Studs. So during the season, Fantasy Studs will focus on players with phenomenal NFL and or fantasy games. Performances for players that far exceeded expectations will also be demonstrated. But until then, Fantasy Studs will feature players, teams, and others who have made positive headlines, at least from our perspective. So, Pudge, let's get to start off. You have a player very recently in the news.
Yeah, George Pickens of the now Dallas Cowboys, formerly Pittsburgh Steelers. He was traded yesterday, and that trade it is a lot more than just him going and helping out CeeDee Lamb. The Dallas Cowboys, man, their offensive run game was atrocious. They were 21 in attempts, they were 27th in yards, and they were dead last in rushing touchdowns. And with the draft this year, they picked up their inside guard. He is a massive run blocker, and the move for them to pick up Pickens is a sneaky good move for the run game. He's a real scrappy wide receiver. He likes to get out there. He likes to go downfield and block. And I think this is one of the ways that he's going to help the team as a whole for fantasy. He was number one in go routes last year. Who's number one at throwing the go route? Dak Prescott. Everything that CeeDee Lamb is kind of deficient at, he's sneaky good at. So I think it's a very good pairing. And then what do you think about George Pickens?
Well, I know that you and I talked about CeeDee Lamb in one of our articles a while back. There were some colorful opinions regarding our stance on CeeDee Lamb. I think that, we both believe CeeDee Lamb will continue to have a great season, but we just didn't think he was going to be positioned where a lot were projecting him. I think Pickens coming in is going to help CD. It's going to take some of the pressure off of him. I've never been a huge George Pickens fan, and so I'm not really certain what to expect. Hey, ball's coming at you, let's fall down and catch it. Routine gets a little old after a while. But I think for the most part, I think it's going to help CeeDee Lamb. And I think that's the real winner in this trade. I agree with you that Dallas has a lot of other problems, a lot of other deficiencies they have to address. There were some questions by Dallas fans about whether or not the draft did that. But I think from a fantasy perspective, the person who's really going to benefit the most is CeeDee Lamb. Now, whether or not he exceeds his stats from last year is another question. Again, I've read there's a lot of differing opinions online. Some believe that, CeeDee is really going to benefit. Others feel that he might take a slide back. I think there's enough. Pickens is replacing enough targets that were vacated that CeeDee really shouldn't see any slide. So I think he's the real winner in this case.
Well, I've got it pulled up right here. It's last year, CeeDee had 152 targets. Tolbert, who is returning, had 79. Second on the team in targets was Jake Ferguson with 86. But Rico Dowdle and Brandon Cooks, they combined for 103 targets apiece, or together. And those targets, I would assume, are going to be soaked up. And Tolbert, I don't think he's going to be much of anything this year. He was a darling last year, but I don't think he's going to be fantasy relevant.
So overall, do you believe Pickens impacts your draft board as it relates to CeeDee Lamb?
Yeah, I think it's a much better landing spot than the Steelers. The Steelers, their run game, Arthur Smith up there is going to throw to one guy, and that's going to be DK. And the other guys are just going to fall to the wayside. So I think this is really good for Pickens' his draft stock to go up and his dynasty value too.
Okay. So another headline in recent days has been the Washington Commanders' announcement that they are finally moving back to the Washington, D.C. Metropolitan area. You and I have talked ad nauseum.
Hey Jeff, I don't want to cut you off.
No,
we got a question in the chat from Josh.
Okay.
So I didn't mean to cut you off. Sorry about that.
No, please.
He said he moved Pickens for a late first in Dynasty. He said, "Would you agree with that?" I love that pick. With that pick, you're getting Colston Loveland, one of the back end running backs, RJ Harvey, depending if it's super flex or not. I really like that because I don't think that George Pickens is going to be anything more than a back end wide receiver 2 for the rest of his career.
Yeah, I will take that first round pick all day. I mean, I think Pickens, like I said, he's going to benefit, but I'm not expecting anything significant that would have me pass up a first round pick. There's too many options right now in rookie drafts for me to pass it up. So I think that was an excellent move, Josh. And then got Craig out there, who I always kind of like Pickens myself, and then was talking about might be a good backup or flex options. I think Pickens. I mean, I would not mind having Pickens on my bench. I'll certainly take him, and depending on my other options, he may be in the lineup. But again, if I'm counting on him to be my wide receiver 1 or wide receiver 2, I think I'm in trouble.
Yeah, I think he's a perfect sell right now. With this new buzz, I'd get rid of him if you can.
Completely agree. Thank you, Craig. So back to the Washington Commanders. Again, they just recently announced that they were going to be returning to the site. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, Pudge, the site of the old RFK Stadium. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And you and I have spoken ad nauseum in the past about what it means for a city to have the stadium located. I mean, we've experienced that and lived that with Detroit when the Lions moved back to downtown Detroit from Pontiac, and the excitement and the just the environment that created for Detroit. It also helped when Detroit ended up with both the All-Star game and Super Bowl in 2005 and 2006, respectively. I think I got those right. Maybe I have them backwards. But, there was an incredible energy in the city from those stadiums coming down there. And it was the catalyst to a lot of revitalization for Detroit. And, there's a lot of bad press about Detroit all the time, but you and I mean, we spend time in Detroit all the time, and Detroit is a great city. Don't let anybody fool you. But, I think Commanders moving back home, I think, there's a lot of tradition. We won't talk about the old name, but there's a lot of tradition with Washington football, especially Washington beating the Lions in playoff games. Again, another story, but, I think
itself.
Yeah, we want to. It's still too soon after last year's defeat, but I think it's really. I mean, how do you feel about what does it do for you when you hear about a team moving back to the city rather than being way outside?
I love it. I have lived in a city. I lived in 2 cities now. I don't live in Detroit, but close enough. It is awesome going from the Pontiac Silverdome to downtown Detroit. And then you're right next to Comerica Park, which it's the atmosphere down there when you have both games on a weekend. It is awesome. There's not really anything like it. But I did live in San Diego for quite a bit, and the Chargers were out there at Qualcomm, and Qualcomm's 45 minutes away from the city. And when they moved Petco Park, which are the Padres, that's where they play. When they moved that down to the city center and downtown, it was awesome. I mean, that was my first experience of having a downtown culture filled with sports. The life down there, the way people the way people cheer, it's different. I mean, it's cool. The Pontiac Silverdome was, it was huge, but there's nothing like going in and out, or going to grab a beverage right before you go inside, or when you come out after a big win, and then everybody's cheering, everybody's sitting around having a couple of cocktails or mocktails, whatever you choose, and it brings the city together, I feel, instead of keeping it more segregated and separate than having the two entities miles away.
Yeah, I think a lot when you're downtown, the shops, the restaurants, the bars, lounges that not only, are available to all of the fans, but, that provide opportunities for the city. I just think it's absolutely incredible. And, I think the one thing I liked about baseball, and I'm not even sure if it's a rule any longer, but baseball for the longest time, if, in order to be named after the city, you had to be located in the city. I think the first example of a transition away from that was when the California Angels became the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, and they've since, I think, dropped I don't hear the from Anaheim or of Anaheim any longer. So I think that's really the first example that I know of a team not being in the city proper, but being allowed to have that team as their team name. So again, it's just a personal preference that I like seeing the teams in the metropolitan areas that they represent, rather than, being, like you said, an hour drive away. So rules may not govern sports stadiums, but there is no room for the lack of rules in your fantasy league. So anyone who knows me knows how steadfast I am in the creation, maintenance, and enforcement of rules, comprehensive league rules that encompass most facets of league operation. And Pudge, as you and I discussed last week, they are the foundation of any functional league. You have to have that foundation if you expect the league to even weather a lot of the issues that arise during the course of a season. And when a league lacks comprehensive rules or fails to enforce them, typically chaos ensues. So I was talking to you a few days ago. I'm in a Dynasty IDP league where suddenly in the middle of the draft, the commissioner gets in the league chat and tells me to start dropping players. And this confused me. I'm like, why am I dropping players? My roster was legal. And he started telling me that, and telling everyone that you must, as you draft a player, you must drop a player. So it was kind of implied that by the time the next player after your draft pick makes his or her selection, you must have dropped a player. And I mean, we won't even get into whether or not that's a goofy rule or not. I mean, we can, but what was more concerning for me was the fact that on the fly, the commissioner instituted a rule that nobody knew about. And it caused some issues. And it was just another reminder, and shame on me for being in the league without having those rules established. But it was just another reminder of when a league does not have established rules, chaos ensues, and a commissioner can be allowed to issue ad hoc rulings that nobody is aware is going to happen. What I know you and I talked about. What were your thoughts on that?
First of all, it is just really, really odd for a commissioner to come out and say that. I could see if it was part of the rules and bylaws and somebody overlooked it, but I've never heard of anything like that. It is. Uh-oh. Can you see me still?
Yep.
All right. Sorry. We froze for a second. The rules are rules for a reason, right? I know we play for fun and it's not super high stakes, but I can't understand. Yeah, exactly. Get the tape out and give him the RKO out of nowhere. But I just don't understand his logic behind it. And or why it pointed just at you. There are obviously other people drafting. Why aren't they having to drop their players?
Well, at first, yeah, he wasn't having anyone drop their players, and it wasn't until I made some trades, and I finished second last year. I lost the championship to our friend Jeff. Everyone knows him as Jabber, but I had 4 picks in the first 2 rounds, and landed on some solid picks, and I have a decent roster, and perhaps maybe he was just jealous of the roster, but it was odd that he hadn't said anything to anyone else. Suddenly after my 4th pick, you have to drop players. And it was confusing. I asked him, I said, where did this come from? I even scrolled through everything in the prior year, as far as the league chat, and never once saw anything about a rule change. And last year we didn't do this. So it was just really disturbing for me. And it's something that should never happen. So what was interesting was later in the draft, out of the blue, he just changed the draft clock. It was a 12-hour clock, a 24-hour clock. And he didn't like the speed of the draft, so he changed it to an 8-hour clock. And when I confronted him on this, it was funny. And I think I shared that with you. His comment to me, "Hey, Jeff, it's just common sense." And I'm like, I'm sorry, what? Common sense? Well, I've been playing fantasy a long time, and perhaps, there's a lot I do not know. I readily admit that. But to say it's common sense that you drop a player immediately after you make a pick, and that it's common sense that, hey, if the commissioner doesn't like the pace of the draft, he's going to change the clock without notice. I think someone else is lacking common sense when it comes to this.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's just like the real NFL. When they're picking players up, they're not dropping them right away. Like at the end of the draft, they've got 7 or 8 of these young kids. They're not saying, all right, well, these guys got to go right away. No, they expand their rosters and everything gets congruent. You give everybody a little new time. So I don't understand what that commissioner was doing, but maybe he shouldn't be the commissioner. Good way to alienate a good dynasty player, which is never good.
Well, I agree with you. And once again, going back to league rules, it's critical that when you have league rules that they cover most facets of your league. Again, you can't possibly prepare for every contingency. Obviously, no one had anything in their rules that would cover a situation like the Hamlin situation in, what was that, 2022? I've already lost track. 2021 or 2022? I think it was 22. And nobody was prepared for that. So you have to react. But something like draft and draft rules and how you change rules, these are items that should be in every set of rule books. Again, you don't have to have them my rules, I think, are 50 pages long. Nobody's asking you to have a rule book like that. You just have to have rules that stipulate to everyone so that no one is caught off guard, or no commissioner is allowed to just do stuff unilaterally without the league's input. And we'll talk more about rules in another show down the road. But for now, I just apparently don't have any common sense. So if we had any common sense, we wouldn't spend, or excuse me, if we had any common sense, would we spend as much time playing fantasy football or fantasy sports? I mean, how do we balance that with real life commitments? So it's no secret that fantasy football can consume a lot of time and other resources. We have numerous leagues. Between the number of leagues that we have, the amount of research that we put into our leagues and our players, if you're like me, and I know you are, Pudge, we are watching and listening and reading content more than we really should. Especially when my wife thinks I'm watching a movie with her, but no, really, I'm actually scrolling on my phone, reading about the latest news in the NFL. And then on top of that, league fees and content costs. So, there's a lot of resources that we put into this game that we love. How does this time and resource commitment reconcile with real life? How do we keep it from infringing on family, friends, and employment? So Pudge, how do you do it? How have you been balancing that?
I don't. Let's be honest. If I got the itch to look at my fantasy squad, I do it. It does invade my home life quite a bit, but I don't let it overrun it by any stretch of the imagination. It's a fine line between sitting outside, watching the kids ride around their bikes, and I can scroll on my fantasy squad to see who I'm going to draft next in our IDP league. That's what I love about the fact that we have these apps now. Before, it was not always so easy. It really had to do a lot of research, buying your magazines. Nothing was readily available on your phone like it is now. So it seamlessly transitions into home life, but I can see how if I were married, it might not be so easy.
Well, I understand that, but you have kids, you have employment, you have children, you have other responsibilities. Fitting those in, and being able to juggle those and to spend the amount of time that you want to spend, because you are like me, you want to spend a lot of time. And if if we didn't have other obligations, this is probably what we would be doing from the moment we wake up to the time we go to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it's so, you have your children. I mean, how are you fitting that in without, I mean, I would never use the word neglecting, because I know you're an incredible father and you would never do that. But how would you manage fantasy football research or just doing anything fantasy while you have your kids?
Well, research usually comes when the kids go to bed. Whenever I'm getting ready to write an article or anything like that, most of it is after the kids are fast asleep. But I will say that sometimes when free agency is going on and I'm cooking dinner, I get sidetracked and I might burn the chicken, or I might get the macaroni and cheese a little too hot. It's happened before where I overcooked the noodles. So that's funny, Josh. It's Pokemon Go. Yeah. As long as you can,
That's great.
as long as you can make a trade. So, but the kids, they actually enjoy football, so it's not too hard, but it all has to come. The majority of my fantasy time comes well after the kids are asleep.
Well, going back, also, Craig, you said you were a little new on fantasy. I just wanted to comment on that real quick. Thank you for coming to Fantasy Now Plus. There's a lot of content on our website, as well as our recorded and live stream podcasts. So, if you ever have any questions regarding fantasy, no matter how, newbie or simple of a question it is, do not hesitate. There are no, again, the old saying, there's no wrong questions. We're here to help. Hit us up, hit Pudge or myself up, or anyone else on the Fantasy Now Plus team, and we'll be more than happy to help guide you, as you dive deeper into fantasy, and then you too will be figuring out how to juggle fantasy in real life. But thank you for that.
Hey, you can join the Discord channel.
And thank you. Absolutely.
Yep.
So, I mean, for me, also because I'm a commissioner. So as you know, I'm a commissioner of 5 leagues. It may not sound like a lot, but you are fully aware the depths I go to with, with my commissioner duties, sometimes too far almost. Sometimes I get a little bit, some of the league mates get a little bit tired, especially in the off season, of all the things that I try to do to keep the league going. We've talked about that before, but it is very demanding of my time. And, you and we talked last week about the league that we started in 2012 and the reason we did it. And to do that right, to do the league rules and doing the things that need to be done to try and encourage people to participate, to keep people engaged, and to also try to ensure that they believe that everyone is treated fairly. It's important to go those extra lengths, but it does take time away from, from other things that I could be doing. So, I find it very hard sometimes. And this time of year right now has been really difficult with things going on with Scott Fishbowl, the FC eliminators. We have, you have the NFL draft, you have things going on with Fantasy Now Plus. And on top of that, you're also preparing for all your own leagues and your own drafts. It is a very busy time. My wife doesn't understand it. We talked about that last week. She thinks it's off season, so there shouldn't be any of this. But unfortunately, that's now how it works, especially when you're in a dynasty league and you're right now in the midst of the rookie draft. So, how have you felt
pick right now?
Yes, you do have one due in our IDP league, I believe. So, yeah. Do you think sometimes we as dynasty or fantasy players go too far? Do you think do you ever think, hey, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this year round? Do you ever think it's too much?
Of course, we're sick individuals. we are not normal people. To hyper focus like we do on fantasy and to play as many you call it games, but to be in as many leagues as we're in, to juggle that, to even remember some of them. I mean, I don't know what I had for dinner yesterday, but I could tell you what my fantasy squad looks like in 99% of my leagues. So it gives us a way to enjoy our fandom, expand our fandom, and we have something else to cheer for other than the Lions, which was big for a long time because the Lions weren't very good. I don't know if you knew this or not, but they stunk. And they stunk for a very long time. And just recently, they had a couple of good years, but until then, we didn't have much to cheer for.
That is very true, and that may have been the catalyst for me getting into fantasy sports in the first place, so that I could actually feel like there was some winning going on, or at least I had some control, because there was definitely no control over the Detroit Lions. Have you ever felt like your fantasy sports participation has crossed the line? I mean, literally crossed the line.
Yeah. I remember an auction draft not that long ago. And I almost alienated a friend over that. But Jimmy Graham, he was really important to me that day. And it caused it should not have caused a rift, but it's still funny to talk about to this day, and we still joke about it. But I would say that we've definitely crossed the line playing fantasy before.
You were raging over that one. Yes, nobody's trying to bid $111 on Jimmy Graham, so on a $200 budget. But it was you and I will always agree to disagree. I mean, I could easily see how there was a keyboard mistake on, back in the old ESPN auction days. You believed it was somebody messing around, and we'll just leave it at that. For me, I think Chris. Crossing. What's that?
I said, love you, Chris.
We'll have to get him watch. We'll have to make sure he watches this. The one thing that for me, I think crossing the line was when I was. There was a time where I was doing too much of this at work, and again, I've always been in a position where my routine, my itinerary was flexible. However, when you start pushing off work so that you can research players or participate in a draft, or you're taking time off. I mean, the NFL draft, I was taking 5 days off. I was starting like on Tuesday and partying, for the NFL draft. But I think that's really where it was for me. Is there were times where I should have been doing work, and when you start procrastinating on assignments to focus on fantasy, I think that's where it may be a little too much. And I think that's, for me, that's where it was really a problem. So anyway, it can be stressful balancing fantasy sports in real life, but that is why we have beer. Beer. So in Fantasy Suds, every week, we are going to present a beer that we enjoy drinking. Some of us, have better beer than others, but this is a segment that beer and football go together, and it's something anyone who has followed anything that I've posted on X or Blue Sky know that it's about 2/3 beer and 1/3 fantasy. So it's something that we wanted to include here, and I'm going to talk a little bit about last week's beer in a moment because I didn't give it its due. But before we do that, Pudge, what beer are you enjoying today?
Well, it is summertime. And you know what that means? You got to watch the calories. Because you don't want to be the big guy at the beach. The dad bod's okay, but the big guy at the beach you don't want to be. So we got Michelob Ultra. Oh, it's green, so you're not going to be able to see it there. Lime Cactus Michelob Ultra.
That beer is so absent of any kind of flavor or color that it's actually clear on the screen.
So tasty.
You enjoy that. You go ahead and enjoy that. Before I provide my beer of the week, I wanted to go back to last week, and I had a beer from Anchorage Brewing, and I just wanted to talk a little bit more about Anchorage Brewing. Anchorage Brewing is one of my favorite breweries. I know Josh also mentioned, Josh Kimmel, who's in our who's watching right now. He also loves Anchorage, and it's a great brewery. They're excellent when it comes to their double IPAs and their triple IPAs. They also have phenomenal stouts. Some of their stouts get a little pricey, so I don't always get to enjoy them. But I just wanted to give a shout out to Anchorage Brewing because that is one of my favorite breweries. A few of these first beers are going to be from breweries that I really personally enjoy a lot. Which brings me to my next beer, which is a brewery out of New York by the name of Mortalis. And Mortalis, again, is one of my favorite breweries. They have phenomenal IPAs, and or that three-letter word that John Bosch absolutely hates. But in this particular case, we are going to pour a beer by Mortalis that is called Campanula. It's a double Indian Pale Ale. It's an 8%. Again, from Mortalis. And again, a lot of times when you're drinking an IPA, one of the things you're looking for is that latency. It's the head retention and latency. This one obviously started to fade, but typically when you drink the beer, if you see a lot of the latency around there, which is kind of the stuff that that sticks to the glass, that's usually a sign of a fairly decent brewed beer that's not too technical. There are a lot of other people out there who are a lot more technical than I am when it comes to brewing. I'm just throwing my 2 cents worth in there, but again, decent haziness. That's kind of the thing these days with IPAs, even if they're not a hazy IPA. But cheers, everybody. I thought Justin was going to join us, but we'll move forward.
Oh, I'm here.
Here we go. Hey.
Okay.
I was waiting for my call in to see if you remembered me. I have a gold standard from Taxman. This is right up my alley, literally like 15 minutes away from me. It's a Belgian style blonde ale. And it is the gold standard, 6.2%.
Does that taste like a Michelob Ultra?
No.
It's
no. We don't drink cheap beer in my house.
Hit the button that turns him off.
I mean, I could if you really want me to. It'd just be me and you instead.
No, that's all right. We'll keep them.
So,
I got to get you guys.
But absolutely,
you guys educated.
Also have. Oh, let me turn it the other way. There you go. Now you can
nice.
Nice. So it's a little darker. But
that's a nice beer. I actually enjoy Taxman. I think I have a couple of Taxman in my fridge, so perhaps in the next couple of weeks
they're one of my top. I would say 3 Indiana beers.
Very nice. I do need to make it down to Indiana to hit some of those breweries down there, especially because I love the fact that they are extremely dog friendly down there. I think you and I've talked about that before, and I need to get my pups down there and enjoy some of that Indiana sunshine. So
when you're ready, let me know. We'll go. There's several breweries. Yeah, they're all really dog friendly down here. So.
Yeah. So in the comments, like Fantasy Now Plus, drop a comment with your beer selection for this week's Fantasy Suds segment. If you've got a favorite beer that you like, or you can send something off to us, and perhaps we can feature a beer in the future that that you enjoy as well. Also, if you have a favorite style or a style that you'd like to talk about, please let us know. There's very few styles of beer that I do not like. So, I mean, if Michelob Ultra, whatever that was a style, then that may be one I do not like. We'll see you later, Josh. But yeah, let us know. This is again, this is a
Justin.
segment we want to. What did I say?
Josh.
Oh, sorry. I'm going to pay for that one later. I am going to pay for that.
Oh, oopsie.
Oops.
I got
Thanks,
you, Justin.
Thanks.
That 8% alcohol really got to him already.
Yeah,
That's why you got to stick with
I love
these
it.
guys.
I've never been called Josh before. It's always Jason, so it's good.
Okay, I'm gonna pay for that. Drink in moderation.
How many is that for you today, Jeff?
Oh, that's my first. It is my first. It's a Friday though, so ask me later. So anyway, I usually cannot drink heading into a staff meeting, but when it's the inaugural Fantasy Now Plus Staff Dynasty League Draft, well, let's drink. So
can I talk about this one with you guys?
Oh, please stick around. So, and this is Justin's baby, so he definitely needs to stick around. So over the past week, we started a staff Dynasty League Draft, which was unique to say the least. I think it includes if not all of the FM Plus team.
All of them. All 12
all of them
us
are in this. Yeah. Okay. All 12
we actually
of us
had to
recruit
recruit one person to join the team to fill out the league.
Yeah. Hey, join a fantasy league and get a podcast. That's great. I wonder if that other commissioner I know is willing to do that. So anyways, a very unique approach to this. I wasn't sure what to expect. So, it was the first two players. It was an auction draft where you could draft up two players. And I can't remember what the budget was. And what I expected to happen did not happen. We'll talk about that in a second. And then after that, everything was a waiver wire draft. And that was very interesting. So Pudge, I'll start with, well, actually, let me start with you, Justin, since it was your, why don't you talk a little bit about how you came up with that and what you thought of the results?
Okay, so Josh has told me for the last 3 years, I feel like, that dynasty startups should be auction. And I don't like going to MFL. We did an auction draft in MFL last year and then moved everything to sleeper after that. And that was okay, whatever. I wanted to just keep it in sleeper. But the sleeper auction system isn't the best. You can only nominate one person at a time. You can't do as many as you want, you can in MFL. So I was like, you know what? Let's do the auction, but different. So yeah, you get two players, you got a $300 budget to put out. Some of us suck at auctions and maybe put $2 down on a player that nobody else wanted. And you're just like, well, crap, this sucks. And you land with Bucky Irving as one of your two players, but it's fine. We're still making it. So after that, everybody got their two players. Some for Malik Neighbors for $1 really hurt me. We went into a silent auction, what I'm calling the silent auction. We're still doing it. We have one round down so far. So you get a $500 fat budget and you're filling out the rest of your team with this fat budget. I mean, in deep benches, everything. So it's been fun. There were 171 waiver claims made last week on players. And then, of course, I have to go through. Some of them are ties and then gets awarded to somebody. So I went back, manually went through all the ties, went back to you guys and said, okay, budget, or what are you bidding now? It has to be more than your original. And then that's how we figured out tiebreakers. And we just finished that round one today. And round two will start on Wednesday. So
it was hectic.
I landed with 14 running backs. And I hate running backs.
I've got 19 roster spots that I have to still fill. Yeah, on a 25. It is ugly, to say the least. It is stars and scrubs all day. Jahmyr Gibbs and Jamar Chase headline my team with Jared Goff and Trevor Lawrence as my QBs. That's about it.
Yeah, I have Lamar Jackson and Drake May. That's about the highlight of my roster right now. And Mark Andrews, hopefully he comes back. But I have a lot of young talent, a lot of young running backs. So as they get hurt, just throw the next one in there, I guess. But
I like Jeff's approach, though. All the rookies.
Oh, I mean, I won't compete until like 2032, but I just thought, everyone's going to go. I thought everyone was going to go heavy and strong after all of the top tier players. And I thought, I'm just going to do this opposite. I'm going to try to build a foundation for the future. I'll grab a bunch of rookies and then see who pans out and who doesn't, and then just build from there. It all worked out with one exception, which was Judkins, which then you turned around Pudge and took from me, but I wasn't going to bid the rest of my bank on that. I still have some spots to fill, but I mean, other than Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels, everything else is rookies. Every other player I have right now is a rookie. So I will not be competing this year, which is okay. But it's a different approach. I thought, hey, I'm going to take a fun, different approach with this completely unique. And at first, I'm going to be honest with you, Justin, when you first described all this and I was figuring out how this was going to work, I didn't like it until I got into it, and then I loved it. And so
that's what I keep hearing is like, everyone's like, I don't know about this. And then that Wednesday hit and everyone was like, this is amazing.
Yeah. Everybody was watching the waiver wires at noon. It was fun.
Then it didn't go at noon. It went at 12:05 and everyone's like, what's going on? Oh my God.
Yeah, I literally postponed something I had to do at work just so I could watch that. And I was at a lunch outside in the sun, so I literally couldn't see my phone, like, because when you're in the sun, the phone gets really, really dark, and you're just like, I can't see anything, please. It was fun. I want to do another league like this at some point, but it was great. The real Josh, not this Josh, but the real Josh, I just love the fact that he thought he was going to get cute with Daniel Jones and he gets stuck with him for $1. So that was his.
So he explained to me before this past Monday's show, what he was thinking, and his thoughts were, he thought it was 2 rounds, period. So if he didn't win a second player on his second bid, he wouldn't get a second player. So he was like, well, I'll put Daniel Jones out there thinking that this will be my second player, and at least it's high upside. So if nobody else is going to try to take him. I'm like, how auctions work though. Like it just keeps going until everybody's filled up. So he was like, yeah, I didn't think about that. I'm like,
well, it's funny about the auction. I told Pudge, I said, what I really expected was everyone was going to bid $299 on the player they wanted. And it was going to end up being nothing more than a serpentine or a linear draft. And that didn't happen. So that was the other thing that just surprised me. And that's, I think, another reason why I liked it so much is I was expecting one thing and it just did not transpire. So this was awesome. And I'm looking forward to next Wednesday. I still have some spots to fill. I need to find more rookies to round out my two quarterbacks and the veteran quarterbacks, and the rest are rookies. Like I said, I'm more than happy to hold everybody else up in the league for a few years. So, Pudge, did you think anything more about that particular? Go ahead.
It will facilitate a lot of trades. I'm thinking it's going to be a very active league. So those are always my most fun leagues, when people are willing to wheel and deal to win now, or the thought that went into all of that just to come out with, I've got 19 roster spots still. I was like, oh my Lord.
I have 14 running backs, and I'm like, I only want 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be like a lot of, oh, you need this position because you have a million of these. Like, let's trade here. Let's move some players around.
Well, I do know if the trading is anything like the staff chat on Discord, we won't have any problems. There'll be plenty of trades to go around. So, but Justin, thank you. That was that's for a unique draft that I was expecting not to like, and I ended up loving. So, so Fantasy Care Eliminators are underway. I am in 10 drafts this year. I wanted to try a different approach in each of those, but I'm not sure that's happening. I seem to keep ending up with the same players. Pudge, are you in any of this year?
I am not in any Fantasy Care Eliminators.
Okay, well, we'll make sure you get with that next year. What about you, Justin? Are you in any of those? Nope, he's gone. Nope, he's back.
I am not. No.
Okay. All right.
We're delinquent.
So, well, there were still openings if you went to scottfishbowl.com, but I think they just closed it earlier today, so I'm not sure if you can get in there or not. But you might still want to go to scottfishbowl.com if you are interested in a Fantasy Cares Eliminator. It is a best ball tournament. You draft and then you're done. It's like any eliminator. Each week, one team is lopped off until there's one team left standing. So if you're interested in doing that for charity, go out to scottfishbowl.com and look for Fantasy Care Eliminators. So this Sunday is Mother's Day. For Pudge and I, our mothers are no longer with us, but what are your favorite memories of Mother's Day? And Justin, you chime in too as well, if you'd like.
I have a much different experience with Mother's Day than a lot of people because I worked so long in the restaurant industry. So a lot of it was me being very, very busy for 25 hours at a time. That's most of my memories of Mother's Day.
Okay. Pudge?
In the Navy, it was a day that I would always pick up for duty for extra money. Everybody always wanted it off, and I didn't have any ties or any reason to really celebrate. So it was a day of extra duty, and I got to really just chill on the boat. Other than that, we usually take out some flowers up to the grave and go say hi to Granny with the kids.
Well, for me, my memories were, taking my mom out to lunch or dinner. Wasn't always on Mother's Day. Sometimes schedules didn't allow that, so it might be the day before, day after. But we would, taking my mother out to her favorite restaurant or going someplace that she wanted to go. Kind of COVID, put a halt to that, and then we never really resumed it after that. I mean, we did other things and so on. I think, for me, a Mother's Day was actually the last time in 2023 was when I actually was able to spend time with my mother on a road trip. We were on the road for almost 10 hours, and that was an incredible time. It was after Mother's Day, but it was still the last quote unquote Mother's Day experience that I had before my mom passed. And that is something that I will never forget and always cherish. So this Mother's Day, that will definitely be on my mind as I am thinking of her, and also, and eating food and drinking beer, of course. So,
yeah, give it up to all the mothers out there, though. I mean, without them, there's no us. So,
that is true.
I know that I put my mom through quite a bit of stress as a young man growing up, and I'm sure that you did as well.
Well, one, I don't find that hard to believe at all that you put your mother through stress, because as a friend, you've put me through stress at times too, but still.
Me?
Anyway, moving on. There have been times where I've been I was not the trouble child of all my 4 other siblings and myself. I was not the trouble child. There were others worse than me, but
why does that not surprise me?
Do you need a last minute gift for your mom? Sign her up for Fantasy Cares Eliminator or Fantasy Now Plus's Super League benefiting Children's Miracle Network. That is a great way. Get her involved in fantasy. That's a great way to balance that enjoyment of fantasy football, and you can spend quality time with family. There's your juggling of real life and fantasy football. Pudge, where can people find you on social media?
I am FF Pudge over on X, and I am FF Pudge at Fantasy Plus or Fantasy Now Plus.com on Blue Sky.
So many words.
I'll get
so
the
many
Blue
words.
Sky one. Blue Sky is
it's long.
Why can't they just make them smaller? But no, I'm on both of those. So
okay. And you can find me. Oh, Justin, where can everybody find you?
Oh, Justin Bowerly everywhere. Just type in my name and well, not everywhere. I'm not on X. Blue Sky.
Go to Google, type in Justin Bowerly everywhere and see what you
Actually, you can. And all my stuff will pop up. There's only one of me, or there's 2 of me, and the other one's a teacher in Texas. So
okay. Well, you can find me at ffcommish_YIS on X, and you can find me at ffcommishYIS.bluesky.com on Blue Sky. So our next episode. Oh, excuse me. Thank you for listening and tuning in and enjoying beers with us and talking about some great fantasy football topics. Our next episode will be Friday, May 16 at 3 p.m. Eastern and noon on the left side.
24 hours. Oh,
yeah, sorry. I always do the military time. Sorry. Follow Fantasy Now Plus on YouTube, X, and Blue Sky, and subscribe to this channel. Next time, for C.J. Pudge, LaPage, I am Jeffrey Crisp. May your studs be hot and your suds be cold. Cheers.
See ya.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to like and subscribe wherever you watch or listen to podcasts. We'll be back next week for more ways to win your league.